As I mentioned before, my name is Leanne and I am the Regional Director for North America for the university. So I've been with Macquarie for about 7 years now, and I've actually lived in the US for the last 5 years. So I look after both the US and Canada for recruitment. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about the different programs that we have in medicine and physiotherapy as well. Just keep going through here. So we're going to just do a brief overview and then, plenty of times for the Q&A. So a couple of you have been to the university or to Sydney in Australia, which is amazing. I think it's very similar to Canada in terms of culture. We love the great outdoors and good food. Dare I say we probably have a little better weather than the Canadians if you like warmer weather. It's certainly a little more challenging to find snow in Australia than many other places. So the university itself is about 30 minutes from the downtown area of Sydney. So there's a train station on campus that goes direct into the city. So the best of both worlds, the big cosmopolitan city experience with the beautiful beaches. And fun fact for you, it would take 27 years to see, if you took one day to see every beach in Australia. And then there's a really beautiful Parklands University that you can retreat back to. So we've got about 40,000 students, and of that there are 12,000 international students. So it's quite a large campus and very diverse. And the amount of international students and the diversity there is one of my favourite things about campus. I actually did a Master of International Relations at the university, so very well equipped to what student life is like and studying at the university as well. So being a big comprehensive university, we do offer a lot of different courses to students. So we have obviously the medicine and the physiotherapy. We also have speech and language pathology and linguistics, which the university is really well known as well. The campus experience is very similar to what you would find in Canada. So you would have the clubs and associations and the sports as well that you can sort of get involved with. We definitely recommend that students do get involved as much as possible while they're on campus. I think no matter what you're studying, the experience of being at university is one of the most important things. Students often say that the Australian University Games is one of their favourite things about studying in Australia. That you participate, there's the Eastern Games once a year and then the University Games the other half of the year. So you can try a different sport like Australian football or cricket if you've never tried that sort of thing as well. So you definitely have the opportunity to engage in Australian culture too. No, you're not the only one without visuals. We haven't been able to get it to work, unfortunately, but we will be forwarding through this presentation. So I do apologise about that. I'm not sure what's gone wrong, but hopefully this is helpful information for you anyway. So the Doctor of Medicine degree is the 4-year program at the university, and it commences in February of each year. It's a pretty new program, actually, that we were previously home to the Australian School of Advanced Medicine. And then we commenced the Doctor of Medicine about 3 years ago. So we haven't had many students. The Doctor of Medicine, has been in, we've done the program for about 3 years now. So students will be graduating from 2022. We'll have our first group of graduates going through the program. It's quite unique in that it's got a very global aspect to it. So in your 3rd year, you actually go to India, which is a compulsory component of the program. And then in the 4th year, you have the opportunity to study in the US. We have partnerships with Washington St. Louis, as well as Dartmouth College. So they're top 10 globally ranked medical schools, which is very cool. And we're looking at different partners around the world as well. So it's possible by the time you start your program and you get to your 3rd or 4th year, you may be able to go back to Canada and have that experience as well. This is just sort of a breakdown. I think some of you can see the screen, which is awesome, which shows what you'll be doing in each of the different years and how they sort of are laid out. So in the 1st year, you do 3 weeks of the clinicals and 3 days of the clinical per week and 2 days of the class and online learning. So it's quite unique in that regard. We only welcome 60 students into the program every year, and of that there are 20 international students. And that's because we own and operate our own hospital. So from day one, you're fully embedded into the hospital system. And the university is one of the only universities in Australia that owns its hospital, which is right there on campus. So you're actually doing your classes in the hospital. I actually sat down recently with one of our Canadian students who is heading into her second year now of the MD. And she said one of her favourite things about the program was how small it was and how you really get to know the nurses and the doctors and the academic staff in the program. She said she was grabbing a coffee one day at the cafe in the hospital, and the head of surgery came up and knew her name and was able to just chat to her about the program. She said she doesn't think she'd be able to experience that in any other program, probably globally, because students are truly embedded into the hospital system and really get to know everyone within that circle, which is very cool. In terms of admissions, so you need to have completed a bachelor degree and have that finalised by the 31st of December, the year prior to commencing. GPA is a minimum of about 5 out of 7, which is approximately about a 3.2 out of 4 on the 4.0 GPA scale. Obviously, that's a minimum requirement, so the higher the GPA, the higher chance of entry into the program. MCAT as well, you need an overall score of 500. It has to be done within the previous 3 years. If there's anyone thinking of starting in 2021, our applications are currently open, and we actually have our first round of interviews starting today, and then they'll rolling admissions. So if you haven't had the opportunity to do the MCAT yet because it's been cancelled, but you do want to start in 2021, you can actually apply and will allow you to do a conditional interview. As long as you are able to do the MCAT prior to commencing, prior to the 31st of December, sorry. Hopefully that's clear, but happy to elaborate on that if there is anyone thinking about starting in 2021. You also need to do a personal statement, and generally we're looking to make sure you understand what it means to do a global MBA and what the importance of that is to you. Students in the past have sort of talked about previous international experiences and the cross-cultural communication skills, and then what that means in a global medical sense. So it's only about a couple of small paragraphs, so you need to be quite concise. But yeah, generally that's the goal for the university, is to understand what you believe the importance of a global MBA is. So based on those requirements, we then will invite you, hopefully, for an MMI interview, which is online. So it's usually done on Zoom. And they're, as I was saying, continually happening every week or so until October. Applications generally open in March each year. So if you are preparing now for future intakes, that's good to know. And it is rolling admissions. So we do recommend getting your application in early because obviously there's only 20 seats available. So as soon as we fill the program, the applications will essentially close. So definitely worth considering that one. Here's an image of for the people that can see it, sorry, some of the MD students that were started in our first cohort. So they're now in their third year. So many just started the program in India before COVID hit. And as part of the entry ceremony, often it's called the white coat ceremony, when you sort of commence your medical degree, the university actually gives you these, and I have totally forgotten what they're called, which is really embarrassing, but you can hopefully see that. And it's a really special part for the MD students. And for the families that aren't able to make it, if your parents are in Canada and don't come to Australia, it's live streamed around the world, which is really cool. And it's a really special moment for students. All right, do we have any questions on the MD there, or I'll just keep going into the physiotherapy, and we can certainly come back and talk about the Doctor of Medicine shortly. But the Doctor of Medicine program is a 3-year degree which commences in July of every year. We accept about 70 students into the program, and of that there are about 30 international students that get into the degree. A question there about the cost of the Doctor of Medicine. It's $74,000 per year to do that program. And a lot of students coming from Canada use the provincial loans as well to help support their studies. That's 74,000 Australian dollars too, so it's probably about 69,000 Canadian at the moment. The DPT, if anyone's sort of thinking about that, is about 51,000 Australian dollars for the tuition. So the physiotherapy, as I was saying, is the 3-year degree. So you will find some programs in Australia that are the 2-year master's program. What makes it different is the 3-year degree is the extended research component in the final year. So you're doing courses like business for physiotherapists, and it's a really comprehensive understanding of physiotherapy. So if you're thinking about opening up your own clinic in the future, this is a really great program because it really does give you that holistic understanding of the degree. You do over 1,000 hours of supervised clinical placements, and that starts in your first year as well. And being part of the hospital as well, you're very much entwined with that sort of lifestyle, similar to the MD student. So very practical and hands-on program. One of my favourite things about the DP team, similar to the MD, is they're housed in the same area. Is the student support available to students? So as soon as you sort of start applying to the university, you'll be introduced to Angela Stark, who's our student support manager for the faculty, and we do become the best friends of students throughout the entire program. And a second mum to a lot of people. You may have met her. She has been in Canada a couple of times. So really amazing support available for students, whether it's academic or social as well. Obviously an accredited program by the Australian Physiotherapy Council and by the Physiotherapy Board of Australia. We have had students who have returned to Canada and are starting to go through that process to get their accreditation in Canada, and the university helps you throughout that process as well, which is very cool. This is sort of the different areas of things that you do study within the 3 years. So the applied physiotherapy science, physiotherapy practice, it's very much evidence-based care as well. And as I was saying, that you do a research project in your 3rd year. And so you can sort of work throughout your degree to work out which area you want to specialise into. And that's another really cool thing about the smaller program is that when you're doing the clinical placements, the university really helps you to work out which area you want to focus on, so you can go into that program and really specialise in that area, whether it's sports physiotherapy or aged care or brain rehabilitation as an example. And the leadership, advocacy and business management is a really cool, unique course within our program as well. So in terms of entry into the physiotherapy program, so you need approximately GPA of 4.5 out of 7, which is about a 3.5 out of 4 GPA. IELTS as well, similar to the MD, but if you have studied in Canada for your bachelor degree, you shouldn't need to prove your IELTS requirements to us. Another big barrier for entry into the Doctor of Physiotherapy is that you need to have studied human anatomy and human physiology in your undergraduate program. If you haven't, we can definitely recommend some online courses in Canada that you can do to meet our requirements. It's also recommended that you do psychology and research methods in the undergrad, but it isn't such a barrier to entry to human anatomy and human physiology programs. So the Master of Speech and Language Pathology is actually a 2-year degree at the university, which commences in February of each year. They also have quite a small cohort in that there's only about 40 students that are part of the program and only 3 or 4 international students. In the past, it has very much gone to Canadian students. So you've certainly got to be in it to win it if that's what you're after. Doesn't look like there is anyone interested in the medicine. Gosh, what am I talking about? The speech and language pathology. But I will say that the university is home to the Cochlear Hearing Hub. Their global headquarters are on campus, as well as the Australian Hearing Hub, which is very cool. What is the next intake for the DPT program? So it starts in July, but those applications for July 2020 have already closed. So it'll be July 2021. GPA. Okay, is your GPA calculated from your most recent degree from medicine? So in terms of the GPA calculations for the Doctor of Medicine, we look at all of your studies. So we will put an emphasis on the master's degree if you have done one, if you have completed that, but we certainly want to look at your undergraduate GPA as well and the courses that you have taken. In terms of law, yes, we do have a 3-year Juris Doctor degree, and that starts in February and July of each year. So you can certainly apply for the July 2020 intake if you would like to. The university's law program is actually ranked in the top 100 globally, which is very cool. And it's a hybrid online in-class program. So you will need to go to Sydney when it's safe, and then you're able to do your lectures and tutorials in a hybrid model. And there's quite a few different specializations that you can take as part of that program too. The LLB, yes, so that's the 4-year Bachelor of Laws program. Again, it does start in the February and July intake, and you're able to do a double degree if you're interested in that. So you can do a Bachelor of Laws with a Bachelor of Arts or Science or Commerce, which would become a 5-year program. We haven't had any students graduate from the law and go back to Canada, although we have had students that are starting the NCA process towards accreditation. The university does have PhD programs in lots of different areas. So generally speaking, if a student needs to have completed a master's and to have done a thesis of about 40,000 words, and then they could be allow entry into the PhD. So most undergraduate students wouldn't have that thesis completed, even if they've done a master's. So you would do a master by research. If you had just finished your undergrad going into Master of Research, normally it's a 2-year program. If you've already done a Master by coursework, it's quite likely the Master by Research will be 1 year. And then you're able to go into the PhD. So if you've done the Master by Research, it'll be a 3-year program. So in total, most likely a 4- or 5-year degree. To apply for that program, you just need to do a short thesis outline, especially if you're most likely going to go into Master of Research, which I'm more than happy to talk to you about offline. And then we would essentially assess to work out which of the masters you would be most eligible for, and then put you onto the PhD track from there. The university has fantastic clinical psychology programs and research. So yeah, very well worth looking into that. There's some great government scholarships and grants available too. Yes, Caroline, that's a great question. Does Macquarie have medicine programs right after high school? Yes, we do. So we have the Bachelor of Clinical Science, which is a 3-year degree condensed into 2 years, and then the Doctor of Medicine. So in total, it's a 6-year program. If you're coming out of high school, you need to have got quite a high Canadian high school certificate results, as well as have studied science, specifically chemistry and maths during high school. So if you meet that initial requirement, you'll then be invited to interview, which will be MMI style, the multi-uni interview, similar to students going direct into the Doctor of Medicine degree. And then depending on your results and the MMI would dictate whether or not you get an offer for the full 6-year program, or if you get an offer letter for the 2-year, the Doctor of Clinical Science. If you do to get the 6-year program, you need to reach a certain GPA in your first 2 years of study to continue on to the MD. But if you aren't successful in getting the full Doctor of Medicine 6-year program and you start the 2-year degree, we'll help you prepare for the GAMSAT, which is equivalent to the MCAT in Australia. And there's a certain amount of spaces reserved for students that have completed their Bachelor of Clinical Science program. So transferring to Macquarie's program, I think you're after the Bachelor of Law. If that's the case, yes, you could definitely transfer that degree. You'd apply to the university and we would do a process called recognition of prior learning, where we look at the courses that you've taken a bond and put it towards the Macquarie degree, and then we'll give you an offer letter and a study plan dictating how much time you'll need to complete to finish your degree at the university. It's definitely possible. Yes, and I'll put this up. I think many of you are already in contact with KOM and Martin Zoo, but in case you can see my screen, here is their contact details as well. Amelia, does your speech program require an interview? It doesn't. So as part of the speech program, you need to do a 1 to 2 page personal statement on why you want to do the program at Macquarie and your understanding of the Australian speech and pathology industry. How many spots available for the undergraduate medicine? So we don't actually have a cap on how many students can do the Bachelor of Clinical Science program. So we've had upwards of 200 students start that program. And the goal is that students commence it, and then of course many will decide they don't want to be a doctor, so they have the possibility to go into the Doctor of Medicine, the Doctor of Physiotherapy, or our speech and language, or they could go into the Master of Research program, as I sort of spoke briefly about before, which would then lead into a PhD. So there's quite a few different pathways out of the clinical science degree if students do realise that they don't want to do medicine. There is about 10, I think from memory, places available for students in that program that automatically get the 6-year offer letter into the Doctor of Medicine as well. Does Macquarie offer tri-semesters? We don't. We only have the session 1 commencing in February and session 2 commencing in July. Students already in the program can do the summer school, which commences in December and goes through until February, but students can't start their degree at that point. So it can be helpful just to reduce your load in the first or second semester to do a class or 2 during your degree in summer school. Students do like that time to work though. So on your student visa, you're actually eligible to work in Australia up to 20 hours per week during semester and full-time outside of teaching weeks. Minimum wage is about $20 an hour, which is pretty good. About 3,000 beds on campus for students. It's not compulsory to stay on campus and it's not guaranteed, although definitely recommended if it's your first time in Australia. So the Macquarie University Village, you live in a townhouse with 5 or 6 other students. And you have your own bedroom and your own bathroom, which is nice. And then you share the living areas. So it doesn't come with a meal plan, but you certainly have access to a kitchen to sort of do that yourself. If you do want a meal plan, you would then choose something like Dunmore Lane College or Robert Menzies College. If you can see my screen, there's just a couple of images of Dunmore Lane. That's more similar to the US Canadian style residency halls that you would find out here, in that you would probably have your own bedroom but share a bedroom. Sorry, you have your own bedroom but share a bathroom with a couple of other students. And then, it's got a full meal plan as part of that too. Right next to the university is a huge shopping centre, Macquarie University, the Macquarie Centre, I should say. Losing my words here. They claim to have the most international brands under one roof in the Southern Hemisphere, which I find funny because there's not much competition in the Southern Hemisphere, but really great opportunities for food in the food court. There's 3 or 4 different supermarkets in there as well. So you can certainly get access to all that sort of thing that you want to. Questions about the speech program, is there audiology? A small amount, but if you want to focus more on audiology, you could do the clinical audiology program, which is somewhat similar to the Master of Speech in that you start in July, small cohort with very small international places available. You can certainly make use of the Australian Hearing Hub and the Cochlear global headquarters as well. For students that choose not to stay on campus, where the university is quite suburban, so there are so many different options available for students to live off campus. And generally, I would recommend getting short-term accommodation when you first arrive in Sydney, and then looking around. Gumtree is probably the most popular. It's quite similar to Craigslist here, where a lot of other students will put up their spare rooms and you can go see it. Can be a lot more affordable, obviously, to live off campus, but then you've got to consider paying bills and that kind of thing. A lot of students choose to live on the train line that goes towards the city, so it's a little easier to get in the city and also get to campus. So there's a lot of options. I can certainly recommend some suburbs to students as well if you are thinking of living off campus. So just in regard to the speech pathology program, the university is really well equipped at helping students meet the accreditation standards in Canada. And we have had students in the past that graduate and come back to Canada and work in that field. You've just got to make sure you're really clear on the requirements returning and making sure you get the right clinical hours as part of that program. Okay, in regards to this semester, it's a great question. So if a student is overseas already in Canada and not in Australia, you are very likely to start online studying if you are commencing in July. Australian borders are currently closed. You can only enter if you're an Australian citizen. You have to do a 2-week mandatory quarantine under government control. And it's not likely that Australia is going to open its borders probably this year, because if you've been watching the news in Australia, it looks like we're going to eradicate it in the next couple of weeks, which is pretty cool. But yes, the courses for Session 2 2020 will commence online until it's safe for students to go to Australia. And no, it's not too late to apply for this semester. You are very welcome to get your application in now through KOM. And once we receive your full application, generally it takes about 2 weeks to get back to you with an outcome. The Doctor of Medicine, of course, will be a little longer because you need the interview, but that process at the moment is about 6 weeks from submitting your complete application to completing your interview. So just a question about borders if they do open up 2 months into semester. Students, I can't imagine that's going to happen, to be honest. So students will be able to get to Australia if it's safe to do so. The visa process for Canadians is actually really straightforward. You apply online, and some students have received their full visa back in as little as 48 hours. So it'll be much easier for Canadian students to get to Australia as soon as the borders are open. So yes, you could do that if that's the case. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to complete the semester online, and the university will assume international students offshore will complete the semester online. If you're doing something different, obviously physiotherapy medicine is a little different, but if you're thinking about other degrees like law or some of our business or humanities classes, you'll have the opportunity this semester to study 1, 2, 3 or 4 courses, depending on what you feel comfortable with studying online. So students are able to start the full 4 classes online, and then if you're like, it's a little too much being at home and doing this, you can certainly drop the classes in the first 4 weeks without any financial disadvantage. So the university is offering some really flexible opportunities there for students. Are there any other questions you guys have there? What about the Doctor of Medicine? Any questions about the India component? I can chat a little more to that. So basically in the 3rd year, you go to India for 3 months. You go to Hyderabad and work at Apollo Hospital there. It's a pretty cool program in that the university, your tuition essentially covers all of it. So your flights, your visas and your accommodation while in Hyderabad is all included in that tuition amount for the year, which as I mentioned is about 74,000 Australian dollars. And the idea is you get a really global understanding of medicine. There's obviously things you'll see in India that you won't see as much in Australia or Canada, and that's why it's such an important part of the program. Yeah, that's correct. So if you haven't had the opportunity to do an MCAT this year because of COVID-19, they have been cancelled up until June, I think, at the moment. You are welcome to apply to the university. And if you've got the right GPA requirements and your personal statements up to standard, you'll then be invited to interview. And then if you're successful there as well, the university will offer a full offer with conditions of achieving an MCAT score of 500 by December 31. If by chance still not possible to do the MCAT online, I'm not sure whether it'll be as the MCAT this year. I'm not sure whether they'll do it online towards the end of the year, but certainly fingers crossed life gets back to relative normalcy that you can sit the MCAT. If you've been looking at our program for a while, you may have seen that we previously required anatomy and physiology prerequisites for the Doctor of Medicine as well. Commencing in 2021 will be the first year that we don't require that, but it's certainly highly recommended that students do anatomy and physiology. So it's a good opportunity in the next 8 months if you do think about coming to Macquarie for the MD, that you do take some additional courses in physiology and anatomy. KOM will be more than happy to put us in touch as well if you've got any further questions. And they've just put their email address there too, so you can contact KOM and they can assist you to do the application. Just a question about the anatomy with the wet lab requirement. No, that's no longer a requirement of the university for the Doctor of Medicine. Perfect. Well, if that is all your questions for today, thanks so much for joining. I do apologise for the technology issues at the beginning, but we can certainly send through the presentation for you. And yeah, feel free to reach out. Really excited to welcome you to campus when we're allowed to go back to campus. Stay safe, everybody, and I look forward to meeting you guys.